Chapter 855. Either turned his back on Kishir, leaving him behind. Although it was sheer willpower that moved his body beyond its limits, the presence that fortified this resolve was right behind him. If he were to fall here, Kishir's efforts and the risk he took to save him would all be in vain. It was this sole thought, coupled with an indescribable fiery emotion, perhaps anger, that enabled Yudhar to forget all pain and walk upright. Hosanna, despite his arm being severed and drenched in blood, had somehow flipped his body over and then crawled on the ground, inching forward little by little. With each small advance, driven by his incredible willpower, his blood drew straight lines on the ground, painting it red. Despite the intensity of the hailstorm weakening, it still danced mercilessly around them. Yudhar saw the cavalry members moving haphazardly, trying to block the swirling hail and counterattack. Even though the strength of the hail had waned, the situation was still too fierce for anyone to break through to where Kishir and Yudhar were. Nonetheless, each member, pushing their abilities to the limit, relentlessly attacked Hosanna. Not a single one turned their back to flee. Among them, Kana, who lacked combat skills but stood at the front line, bellowed commands, caught Yudhar's eye. No matter how much training the cavalry had undergone, someone's command was essential for synchronized action. The presence of a leader assessing the overall situation and signaling from the front made a real difference in chaotic circumstances, and Kana was performing this role exceptionally well. Despite knowing the dangers of being out front without any means of defense, she fiercely shouted orders and waved her injured hand, executing her role with a desperation unmatched by others. Although Yudhar was still alive thanks to Kishir's intervention, it was thanks to Kana and the other cavalry members that he was able to rise and reach this point. Their efforts bought Yudhar time to grasp his sword again and even converse with Kishir. Now it was time for him to act for them and to execute the final move that Kishir couldn't finish. ... Emergency response methods, half forgotten in his memory, began to naturally come to the forefront of his mind without conscious recall. As he exhaled deeply and took a step forward, a thin wind power climbed his arm, tightly binding his frayed sleeve cuffs. The material, stiff as wooden splints, provided a makeshift support and would allow him to wield his sword for a short time. When he took another step, the ground beneath him slightly writhed, solidifying the path ahead. It was a comical sight, solidifying just enough to step on, but it would prevent him from sinking into the mire and stealthily create an opening. Stepping on this makeshift bridge-like path, Yudhar entered the range of Hosanna's power, and the hailstones whirled violently. He no longer had the strength to raise a shield against them, but one clear fact remained. These hailstones were, after all, part of nature. Even in his weakened state, they were ultimately gentle and yielding to Yudhar. An old memory surfaced unbidden during Kishir's earlier attack. Even when he was utterly drained, fighting monsters, and had fallen into a river, that very river had gently carried the severely injured Yudhar, laying him softly upon the land. Even if the path ahead was obscured, as long as one held on to certain truths, moving forward would no longer be a difficult task. Yudhar gritted his teeth and ran on the solid path. As soon as he moved, the cavalry's attack noticeably weakened. Realizing Yudhar's intent to kill Hosanna, they had shifted their focus to supportive abilities, clearing the way for him. Thanks to this, Yudhar progressed without being hit by the hailstones, which seemed to avoid him miraculously. Amidst the immense shock of his body would burst open at any moment, he began to hear Hosanna's murmuring mixed with the wind. "You wouldn't know, young master. Once, a long time ago, when you came to the southern lands, someone told you to find them, a place I knew, where I lived briefly as a child, a good place. I thought that person was your mother. I should have sent you there earlier. Even if I thought it wasn't your wish, I should have gone. Why am I always like this? Foolish and regretful. But still, there is still time. I still have a use. It's not over yet. ... Either, who had been unwavering, hesitated momentarily upon hearing the last of Hosanna's murmurs. Still? What does he mean by still? At the end of Hosanna's path, Nahan's body lay in tranquil repose, as if untouched by the hailstorm's fury. Hosanna's raging power and the hail had miraculously spared the area around him. The body appeared rigid and blood-soaked form showing no sign of strength. It seemed improbable that Nahan, having exerted his last energy in a rampage, was still alive. Yet Hosanna was desperately crawling towards him, not just to guard Nahan's side, but with a clear objective, repeatedly muttering to himself. I will take you there. I can do it. I am able. Either then remembered that Hosanna had been muttering similar words right before his last attack failed. Could it be? Was Nahan still alive? Either's mind spun rapidly amid the confusion, quickly revisiting past memories, reaching for what he might have missed. The only thing he had confirmed himself was Nahan's lack of response after the Duke of Horn's death. He hadn't been able to check if Nahan was breathing up close due to Hosanna's sudden appearance. Of course, the likelihood was higher that Hosanna was delirious and speaking nonsense. But what if Nahan was still alive? The damned ability of his. Wasn't it an infuriating illusion, optimizing for deceiving the eyes, senses, and perception of others? Damn it! With a curse, he couldn't remember how many times he had uttered that day, either clenched his sword. The pain was suffocating, blinding him, but it didn't matter. Hosanna was just a crawl away from reaching Nahan again. If he continued like this, he would reach them before they made contact. Drawing a deep breath, as if to expand his fractured chest, Either shouted loudly. Cavalry, full assault! He resolved that regardless of what happened to him, he must send the signal for a simultaneous attack and hurled himself into the fray without reservation. Amidst the sensation of heavy hailstorms, like stones battering his entire body, he kept his eyes open, focused solely on the back of Hosanna's head as he crawled determinedly across the ground. Hosanna stretched out his unserved, wound-covered hand. Yudhir pushed off the ground, leaping forward again. Hosanna's hand trembled as it neared Nahan's body, almost touching it. Yudhir raised his sword high. No, it's too slow. In moments when his body refused to obey, there was always one thing he desperately wished to move, that part of him that had become more than just a limb, the power of an awakener. Although his strength was already spent, he knew there was still a fundamental seed within. In his veins, coursing through his belly, was the origin of the red stone's power that he carried within, a force that must still be present. He knew it was dangerous, but that power had always cleared the way whenever he needed it. That was all he could rely on now. Please, now. With a fervent cry, he widened his eyes and swung his sword. Beneath the armor, invisible to the eye, the blood-red veins on the back of his hand surged momentarily, extending up to his forearm, to his shoulders, neck, face, eyes, chest, and continuously unimpeded to his heart, finally reaching the empty mana hole deep within his abdomen. Thump, 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 thump. A resistance as if questioning whether he could overcome this barrier, and an excruciating pain as if his entire body would burst. Without hesitation, he chose to go beyond. Whoosh! A bright red flame traveled up his sword, melting all the hail in the path, and a shot straight forward, piercing Hosanna mightily. Gulping for air, Hosanna's hand, now sprawled on the ground, finally touched the hem of Nahan's garment. Moments later, the massive explosion erupted from where Hosanna had been.